Hey everybody, so how are you doing today? Yeah, my hair is particularly fluffy right now. I'm a little less tired, a little less exhausted. This is the only video I'm doing today, and this is not going to be commentary on a news article. This is going to be commentary on something I've been researching today. I wanted to talk about. My fluffy hair. Not sitting where I want it. Today we will be talking about China's social credit system, which really is just a system of rewards and punishments based on monitoring their citizens' behavior and using this system to modify it. And if people's behavior is modified and they're kept happy, that'll keep the Communist Party in power. This is just really an extension of what they've been doing since they were put in power in the first place. They want to control people's behavior, which, of course, is statism, it's authoritarian, it's abusive. And who are they to decide how people should behave? They're people, too. The government is full of people. This is something that a lot of folks seem to forget, is that the government is full of people. People run it. People are inside it. And they're no better than you. They just act like they're better than you. But yeah, they're using their creepy Orwellian system to try and monitor people. And this shit is hella creepy. In fact, by the year 2020, they plan on having the system fully developed. But it's actually going to be a series of smaller systems tied in together, not one great big supercomputer type rig. And people can be rewarded or punished according to their scores. They can like private financial credit scores, a person's social scores can move up and down according to their behavior. At the moment, the system is piecemeal. Some are run by city councils, while others are scored by private tech platforms that hold personal data. And these are some of just the basic things they can do to you for not behaving the way they expect you to. They can ban you from flying or getting on the train, which if you're on a business trip or trying to get somewhere or trying to get home after a long trip, and you haven't been behaving the way they want you to, you are fucked. I mean, you are really fucked. Up the ass, no lube. Not even kidding. Gonna have to put this one at not work safe just for that comment right there. They can throttle your internet speeds based on your internet behavior. Like if you're engaged in doxing, yeah, they'll punish you for that. SJWs would not make it in China. They'll punish you for harassing, trolling, or even internet piracy, which you can engage in if you so choose, but they'll punish you for that by throttling your speeds, or something even worse. They can ban you or your kids from the really good schools. They can make you go to a really shitty school. Although in this country, I don't think their worst schools would probably look similar to ours at this point, I'd say. Our education system's a joke. Stopping you from getting the best jobs. Your dad's credit score can not only affect your education, but said dad's credit score can also affect whether or not you get to eat tonight, because you can't get a decent job. They keep you out of the best hotels on vacation. They got a 5-star hotel owned and operated by the state, since it is a communist country. If you're not a responsible enough pet owner, you get your dog taken away. You can get publicly named as a bad citizen by Xi Jinping himself. He'll give you a disdainful look and maybe wag his finger or something. And there's a prototype blacklist. And it already exists, and it's in use, and it's being used to punish people. It says, according to this, the scrolling list on the left shows the individual's names alongside partially redacted ID numbers, while the one on the right shows company names. Yeah, a lawyer named Li Zhaolin, who was placed on the list in 2015, found himself unable to purchase plane tickets home while on a work trip, according to Human Rights Watch. He also couldn't apply for credit cards. So some of these punishments can literally leave you stuck living in hell. This is what Aristotle kind of warned about, not only in government but also in everyday life. that you can actually have too much virtue, and you can become a moral busybody who tries to force his excess virtue on everyone else and just moralize the rest of the population. And that sort of authoritarian body is compromising their freedom and forcing them to behave like good little citizens in the good little collective. Which you could argue is like, oh, this is going to finally get people to behave. This is wonderful. Is it? Even in your weakest moments, because no one's perfect, you could make a mistake and have your life completely ruined by this. Not only that, but you know what? Give them an inch, they go a mile. Anytime you give the state any kind of power at all, they immediately want to get more of it. They want to exercise it. They want more power. Ignore what they say and focus on their actions. What do their actions give? What are the consequences of what they do? What does it result in? It results in greater and greater amounts of power. It's interventionism and moral busybodying on a national scale. And they don't have that right. They never have any such right to do something like that. I don't care what benefit they're getting out of it. This is a horrible abuse of power, plain and simple. Yeah, it seems innocent enough for now, but pretty soon it's going to turn into a literal hell. No one questioned that Communist Party now, even when they start making mistakes that end up causing the country to fall into non-existence, and they go bankrupt. No one questioned that party. And various other things too, like if you're not paying off your debts, or you're not being a good citizen in terms of your financial behavior, they can actually actively get into your phone and change your ringtone into a form of reminder. This is how they use an almost Pavlovian method of control. Like, you know the guy who got like the dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell? Well, this is something kind of similar. In Dingfeng City in Henan province, if you refuse to repay debts ordered by the court, or if you can't, which even if you can't, your inability still counts as a refusal in their eyes, you will hear this anytime you are called. Here, I'll turn that up so you can hear that better. Listen to this.
你拨打的机主已被登封市人民法院发布为失信被执行人，请督。
This is some straight up 1984 shit right here. And if there's anyone down in the comments section who can speak Chinese, maybe do a translation of that for me. I'm curious to hear what that says. And that's in Dingfeng City in Henan province. And for the same issue, if you refuse or fail to repay debts ordered by the court, in Leizhou City in Shandong province, you will hear this.
莱州市人民法院友情提醒您，您拨打的机主已被山东省莱州市人民法院发布为失信被执行人。莱州市。
Yeah, this is straight up psychological conditioning. They're literally forcing people to behave how they want them to behave. This is an insane level of state power that they're rewarding themselves with. And as Thomas Jefferson once postulated, any state powerful enough to give you everything you want is also power enough to take it all away. And imagine a state with this kind of power. They can reward you and punish you. This is a utopia for people who have met the state's proposed moral standards, but an absolute dystopia for those who have failed. And it makes no exceptions based on personal circumstance. Plus, the bigger and more complicated government becomes, the more inefficient it becomes. I mean, here in the United States, our government's not nearly this big and powerful as the Chinese government is. And yet, name me one government agency that's run efficiently. Oh, don't worry, I'll wait. Because literally there isn't one that I'm aware of that runs efficiently. We're drowning in excess legalism and red tape. We're absolutely drowning in an ocean of it. So imagine how much worse it must be in China. Of course, part of this system, they seek to sort of correct the issues that the communist system creates. They're desperate. They want to make communism work. They have such a blind faith in it that it's almost a fucking religion spread by the sword, spread by violence. Communism, worse than Islam. I'm not even kidding right now. But why is such a system needed according to this article? Well, there is a low level of trust in China's marketplace. The social credit system idea first emerged in the 1990s when there were many counterfeit products and financial fraud. Credit expert Hu said China transformed from a big farming society where people did business with their families and friends to industrial society based on credit. This transition has been sudden. China does not have enough checks and verifications to back up its credit system. While some critics call the social credit system Orwellian, others say this new system merely aggregates what information China's government already collects on individuals and enterprises. The internet has made it possible to centralize the data and make it a more potent tool for social control. Exactly, this is precisely what this is, social control. So far, many systems being piloted have not yet linked up, so information on one system is not automatically updated on the rest. And the present situation is still a long way off from what the central government envisions, a sweeping centralized system that archives the citizens' every good and bad deed. Not a lot of Chinese people are aware of the social credit system yet, and so you still see a lot of jaywalkers and unsorted garbage in Shanghai. This is literally like I said, it's moral busybodying on a national scale. It's none of the government's business what its citizens do, and it's really this sort of social control. It's psychological abuse. It absolutely is. You're literally forcing people to live in basically a prison, a state prison, and forced to behave the way you want them to with social cues and social norms. You're literally controlling them like little puppets on a string. And by the end of the day, these social pressures make them behave in a way that they normally wouldn't. Thusly, they're not really themselves anymore. They are what you made them into. You are transforming them against their will. And no government has the right to do that. Now, to finish up, what does life in one of these cities where these systems are in place, what is it like? Well, according to yet another article, some people already feel trapped in China's social credit web. Investigative reporter Lu Hu in 2013, that's a great name, Lu Hu, published an article alleging someone was an extortionist. The man sued Lu for defamation and won. The court ordered the journalist to pay a fine, which he says he did. However, when Lu next tried to book a plane ticket using a travel app, he was notified that the transaction couldn't go through because he had been included on the Supreme Court's blacklist. He contacted the local court and learned he had transferred the money to the wrong account. He hurried to repay the fine and sent the judge a picture of his transfer. He didn't hear back. Later, through connections, he managed to meet the judge and plead with him to be removed from the blacklist. But so far, nothing has happened. Through a loophole, Lu can buy plane tickets using his passport, but he feels like there's nothing he can do to get himself off the blacklist. It's helpless, he says. The unified social credit system will rally all sectors of society against those deemed untrustworthy, says author Murong Zukun, who has had run-ins with the Chinese government because of his writings. Murong believed dissidents will experience a multifaceted punishment, and more people become cautious about their remarks. The Chinese government is increasingly inclined to use high-tech to monitor ordinary people, turning China into a police state, a big prison. says Zhang Lifan, the sociologist. Zhang and Ruang's voices, however, are so far exceptions. If people have doubts, they're not voicing them. In Rongcheng, at least, the social credit system has been embraced. If that continues elsewhere, the system will be a success, and the government will see that it does. In the larger picture, the Communist Party is trying to stay in power by making China a pleasant and acceptable place for people to live in order to not get angry, Creamer says. It doesn't mean it's benevolent. Keeping people happy is much more effective means than employing force. Yes, it is. The party's using both coercion and cooperation to integrate the scheme into people's lives and have it bring benefits to them. To me, that's what makes it Orwellian, says Hoffman of the IISS. The social credit system provides incentives for people to not want to be on a blacklist. It's a preemptive way of shaping the way people think and shaping the way people act. And to the extent that people believe they can benefit socially and economically from the Communist Party staying in power, the system is working. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now imagine, if you will, because everyone knows that human beings are not perfect. We make mistakes. We fail. We're not always 100% competent. Sometimes we screw up. And under a system like this, screwing up could literally mean life or death. Imagine making one simple mistake and then not being able to feed your family. And watching your baby scream itself to death while you can just sit there and do nothing because you've been blacklisted and you can't afford to get a decent job. And all because of one tiny mistake at a moment when you were, attempting to do something you weren't sure how to do it. You failed to accomplish your goal, and there you go. Or maybe you got angry and said something you didn't really mean in the heat of passion, and then they count that against you. Literally what they're asking of these people is essentially a sort of perfection. They want you to be the perfect little drone in the communist hive, and if you're not, you literally get your life ruined by a system of rewards and punishments. Yeah, the people who are getting rewarded by it, they're happy with it, but not the people getting punished by it. This is a fucking nightmare. It'll stand up as an example throughout all time, in my mind, as to why this level of state power should never be allowed. Hell, our government shouldn't be as powerful as it is. We need to dial it back, man. But I hope at least America never gets to be this bad. This is a fucking nightmare right here. This level of social control, it's psychological abuse. It gives the state far too much power. And in the end, this is really going to shape people. It's going to change them into someone they're not. And that alone is terrifying. I would even go so far as to say it's coercion. In the end, you're going to take care of elderly family members and be polite and be all these nice things, but not because you want to, but because you're afraid of what would happen to you if you don't. This does not create an honest person. This creates sort of a plastic avatar of a person. In the end, it'll be a false mask. A dishonest, lying drone. A hollow shell of a man. In conclusion, China, fuck you.